Get strong.
Man, it's about time. Accra. What exactly is with Accra Academy that everybody, when they hear Accra Academy, they have mixed feelings about Accra Academy?
Accra Bleooo.
Oh, then be this, then be that.
No,
But
it's
for me,
because
personally, I have a great experience over there. I love the
Academy,
school and all the people I met, great people. And I think the school transformed the way I think, the way I see things, the way I study and all that. Yeah.
yeah. For me, I've been an observant person from beginning to the end, and I would have traded my Accra Academy experience with yours any day, because I saw you come in Accra Academy. You had that beautiful smile, extraordinary eyes. Your shirt was a little bit, your shorts were baggier than everything, but they were creamy brown. I could tell, I could so describe
I
it.
used to wear
And I could
Afro
tell
Moses with socks.
Afro Moses with socks, and then you had this sandals also. Afro Moses sandals was brown also, and black. I remember a lot because
Oh my
one of the
God.
few that I saw who had luck in everything that they did. Right?
Yeah.
You came in, you entered into sports, you went to business. In the business, you're one of the few people I saw, the Asaris and the rest, who were struggling with their academics as they did their sports. But I didn't see you do that. You had luck in everything that you did. You went in there, you took up the sports leadership role. You were still successful in both ends. You're one of the few who was actually very close to Coach Sapon, and actually was working with Coach Sapon
working
very
with
well.
him alongside. Yeah, that's true.
I saw all of those things because I was observant, and so I would trade my life in Accra Academy with yours. One thing I say about Accra Academy is that Accra Academy is one of the few institutions that is normal and natural and non-pretentious. So you'd have young guys in an ecosystem in their most primal and primate way, observing and absorbing information as they are, and then taking it and working with that. So you'd have the Monteros, you have all of those guys come in with the entertainment. They are all full of spirit and in their own natural element. So if you're someone who is not consistent with that kind of tribe, then you have conflicts with that in yourself. Nobody cares. But nobody cares. But the fact that everybody understands the fact that you are part of the family. One thing about Accra Academy,
and you know, I mean, I'm not cutting you, but what you said something that's interesting. You have Terror, you have myself with sports, you have yourself with your curiosity and that free spirit and trying to get things done. You know, I mean, different people. We have the Vanels, we have Benjis of blessed memory. People do their stuff. You know, people are intelligent in their own space, and that's one thing I like about Accra Academy. And even though people are concerned about what was my grade at the end of the term, people don't care. Like
they don't.
Let's improve the next semester, the next term, if you really want to do that.
It's one of the things that make Accra Academy stand out, because if you hear of any prominent person from pre-sec and then everything, it's because of the academics.
Yeah.
Right. And I did not appreciate that a lot until I started teaching. When in one of my classes, I was always hitting on, you need to get my academics. And there was this Canadian international student who was like, Professor, school is not all about academics. We have our lives to live. We have our experiences. And she was a young girl, really understood the Accra Academy concept. The fact that school is not about academics. Look at us now. You know, people are living. EP impressions. EP impressions is actually doing things. You know, the last time I watched, I think one of the celebrities, he actually did impressions for the celebrity, right?
Yeah.
We have people who are, look at Emery. Emery Sowa is actually leading, is now an opinion leader in his community over there. I see the Homo Wars and the rest, and him actually contributing fruitfully to that. Everyone, and I'm not surprised at everyone's element of growth up until now, because it was a natural characteristic that we had before. Whereas if you had gone to the pre-sex and the advanced films and the rest, your growth and your process would have shocked people. In Accra Academy, wherever we are now, it's not a shock, because it's actually we maturing in who we are, because Accra Academy gave us an opportunity to mature in who we are. And
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, not to play down Prosecco or the fancy thing, but sometimes I liken Accra Academy with or I mean I would not liken Accra Academy with any school, but at this school, Accra Academy, and then I think in Kumasi, Macau also, like they
Yeah,
have this sort of free spirited students who take the academic serious, but at the same time they also understand that the field of an occupation, of any occupation, is very broad and they can fit in anywhere.
yep,
So you can be an entertainer and then still take your book serious,
yep,
work within that trajectory, and then get to wherever you want to go. Like my case, I was the sports guy. Everybody in that bracket who knows Chawi is a sports guy,
yep,
right?
yep,
And people don't really care how much or how well I do in class. I know I try my best to be who I can, but just to be within my trajectory and then work towards it. And there are others who also followed medicine, others engineering, and what
yep.
have you. And I feel that's amazing. I know this happens in other schools like PSEC, like
No,
Pantapin, like whatever. But in Accra Academy is different. You
it's
have the
different.
time to be who you want to be.
Yeah.
A
And
boxer,
people
what have
end up
you?
accepting it. Yep.
Yeah,
People end up accepting it, and people end up appreciating that. I wouldn't have traded if you give me an opportunity, because maybe because I don't have the experiences from other schools, but
yeah,
I've seen my brother. My brother is the most gentle person on earth, but I see the kind of restraint that my brother puts in most of the things that I do. I've seen my brother open up and be very, very boisterous when he's around me. I remember
yeah,
when we were growing up, my brother and I would go to commercial banks and then to go and cause chaos. And my brother would only do that because I am there. And the kind of chaos that we caused actually led us to getting what we wanted, right? So the thing that happens now, I want to talk to your manager. I need my money now. All of those things where we have to insist on what we want and what we need and get that. Accra Academy led us to that. Accra Academy made us understand that we are not institutionalized, but
yeah,
we are rather within our limits, and then we actually have to hold to that. We woke up in the midnights reading and then getting punished at every point in time by the same seniors who would eat with us the next day, by the same seniors who would actually have fun and crack jokes with us the next day. It's a beautiful experience that I don't think anyone would actually appreciate that unless they were in that ecosystem. I
man,
believe so.
sometimes I just reminisce and you feel like
Yep,
going back. But I don't know
yep.
the situation now, whether a lot has changed so far as,
I think a
that
lot
kind of
has changed.
lifestyle, that free will to be who you want to be,
Yep,
and not to seem to be, but to be, just like the motto of the school.
it's cool.
And
It's
so, I mean, this is basically to, just to say that I'm very grateful, or we get very grateful to the
yep,
school,
yep.
meeting different people with different mindsets.
And for me,
Um,
yeah, for me, I take
yeah,
most of my characteristics out of there. I appreciate most of where I pick my mental, and I know later in the conversation we'll talk about most of where I pick my mental health from is from the Accra Academy fraternity that I have. I have people from Accra Academy constantly communicating, appreciating me, talking to me, juniors, mates, and people who
yeah,
actually are in Accra Academy now. So I don't think I could have survived in any family apart from the Accra Academy family. Maybe I'm speaking based on my myopic experience of the
yeah,
Accra Academy, and then another experience would have given me a different narrative. But I very much appreciate. I am a PMP professional now because of Vanel.
yeah,
I wanted to give up during those times, but Vanel pushed me to do that. He actually committed himself to calling me every day or most of the time, checking on me to do it. You don't get that from any fraternity,
yeah.
and I'm part of lots of fraternities. If you
And
want to call it.
that's interesting. I mean, you can never speak about 2004, if correct, year without talking about Vanel. Very, very
Vanel.
great guy. Somebody
And
I've also admired from a distance.
you know, for honestly, and I know Vanel will be watching this. Vanel was the smart, church-going guy, very confident, with the impeccable smile and awesome voice. Very respected. So he was checking all the boxes that he was smart. He was not. He was naturally smart. And Vanel, I'm very
Yeah,
sorry I have to say this, but then actually it was very intimidating to be around Vanille when you were in Accra Academy, because you will
Man, that's crazy.
never surpass him.
That's very, very crazy because Vanel was in the science class and he
Yep.
was in the business class. And in the business class, there were some guys who were, I mean, they were just too much for the
Yeah.
class. These
Joe
guys took
Kwanzaa. Oh my
academics
God.
to a different level.
Yep. I'm still waiting to connect with Joe
What's
Kwanzaa. I
the
don't know
name?
where he is.
The gentleman that got 8 A's.
Oh, is it
He
Michael?
wasn't. He wasn't.
Is it
I think
Orebi?
business three.
Is it Orebi?
Slim buddy. Slim. I think it's in the
Yeah.
U.S. Air Force or whatever now. I'm not too sure.
Okay. I need to
But I
connect with
think
him.
these guys were just amazing
No,
to
we're
say the
natural
least.
sharks.
Yeah.
You know, we're people who were actually brought into a group by an educational system that was flawed.
Yeah.
Right? The educational system that was flawed was stated that at the age of 13 to 15, if you had a good experience with education and a good family background, and then you actually were able to step ahead, you'd be pushed into. But if the educational system was very much integrated in a very, very quality way, most of the people that we found in Accra Academy wouldn't be in Accra Academy by
Yeah.
the standard of what people perceived Accra Academy to be like. But we went into Accra Academy, we realized, no, these people are smart. These people are extraordinarily special. They were smart, you know, and they don't deserve to be in Accra Academy per the perception of what people thought Accra Academy should be like.
Yeah, exactly.
Out there. Unfortunately, again, schools are measured based on science, quizzes that are structured, and again, that most people know that these questions are leaked to some of these prep instructors or teachers for that. But you can't grade a school higher than Accra Academy based on a science and maths quiz.
That's super true. That's super true. But I mean, overall, I think it was a pretty good experience. You have again people who, I mean, like we mentioned, are smart but are humans as well. My very good friend Joe Kwanzaa, I know he'll be watching.
Oh my
that's another
God.
guy.
I really want to connect with Joe Kwanzaa.
I miss Joe a lot.
Really want to connect with Joe Kwanzaa. No,
Once
because
in a
Joe
while,
Kwanzaa,
I see him on my comment section. And,
I don't see him. I don't think I'm friends with him.
I will link him. I'll link him to you.
Oh my God. If he's in the
I
US,
think
I
he's
really
in the
want to meet
States
him.
as well. Oh, very, very, very great guy.
I really want to meet him and then tell him thank you, because I think in second year when I was struggling with my academics, I really always wanted to sit beside him during exams.
The guy is a comedian, man.
And he was generous. That guy was generous. He was generous.
I like Joe so much. He's just a comedian. He's one that you would think he's on serious in class.
But he's charismatic and everything.
I don't know how he does it. Maybe when he goes, because he was not in the boarding house. So
maybe when he goes,
he comes. He was a day student, as we say. So maybe he does a lot
Makes sense now.
At home. I like Joe so much.
He'll mislead you. He'll mislead you if you don't take care. I remember, I'll not mention that guy's name. I remember there was this other guy that I used to wrestle for attention of Joe Kwanzaa in class during exams time. So, you know, when we go to different terms where we
wear spectacles?
No, he doesn't wear spectacles. No, he doesn't wear spectacles. This one is he's one guy. If I mentioned that but he doesn't wear spectacles. He'll sit. I would punch him. I'll go like, he wants to sit at the right side of Joe Kwanzaa because Joe Kwanzaa is a right-handed person and he's right. And you write, and then up on the left-hand side. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I was not ready for academics then. I was preparing for SSC more than I was preparing for end of term exams.
Exactly. There were guys like Kwache who were these guys can really study. You can know these guys are serious. But there were others like Joe. There were others, I'm not sure if I remember for our class. And then Kwache, Business One, the gentleman that passed away, blessed memory, and Benji.
Yeah, Benji.
Also same. He's also outgoing, but these guys were they were on a different level, man.
Yep.
I really respect them a lot.
And one thing about Kwache was that Kwache was not someone you could penetrate. Joe Kwanzaa did not understand that you needed to protect your grades and your intelligence.
Or even compete, you know. I like that mindset.
He wasn't competing. Joe Kwanzaa was not competing. But Kwache was competing. I remember there were times that Kwache would get up and then ask questions, and I'm like, bro, this is next 2 weeks course. Why are you even asking questions now? You know, and I always felt frustrated about Kwache because he was ahead of the class and he was in-depthly, and very resourceful in his
Man.
being ahead of time. And he was always
Uh,
mixing with Maoli Cocinas and the rest. That was
oh yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Those I remember Maoli as well. Yeah, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, my whole thing was I had my own path. Just finish Accra Academy, get to the university. If I don't play sports, get to teach sports. So that was
And you
my kind of
had your career
mindset.
path. No, and
Yeah,
that's why
just
I
trying
think
to
that's
compete
why
with
yeah,
myself, and yeah,
yeah, that's why I believe for you everything, and I think that is what we have to let our kids understand that
yeah,
we need to plan and design a focus for our kids.
yeah.
The reason why it looked like you things for me observing from a point of view, I thought things were checking out well. Like I always thought you had a stint of luck, but now I think and I believe that you had a plan, and
No, I had
having
a
a plan is
plan.
different.
I
Yeah,
had a plan
I did not
for
have a plan.
yeah. Oh,
I did not
okay.
even know my plan. Mine was my dad was like, go to school, do everything, don't get into trouble. When you get in trouble, come tell me, and all of those things. My dad would not even come to campus, but he would just come tell me as if he was going to fight someone on campus, right?
Yeah,
So I think that is what we have to get into our kids' minds to give them a plan. And because for me,
I think it's
observing from that,
important.
yep,
People believe that there is no job in Ghana. Okay, I totally agree to a larger extent. But I remember talking with them, the Dodus, if you remember them,
yep, them twins.
the twins, yeah. And well, like, shall we ask for you, dear? You check, like, you know what they won't do. So I remember having that discussion with them. I don't know if they remember. So I was like, stay on my lane. This is what I want to do. The sport field is very broad. I'm not sure whether I'll go into sport science, sport medicine. I'm not sure whether I'll go into sport policy or sport management, which I'm doing now. But I know I would end up in sport.
Yep,
So first thing is learn everything that I want to know whilst with Accra Academy, the sports section. Then I got to the University of Ghana. From day one, I established myself at a sports directorate. Learned everything over there. I never left there. You see the stadium being built at the university. I was there from when it started till I left. And then I did my, how do we call it, my national service there. Got a chance to do a lot of internship and then, volunteer and research work over there a little bit, and then got some international projects to also manage. So it's always important to know the end game. And that's exactly what I was doing. That one, know your strength,
mm-hmm,
Academy, whatever I have to do to get to the university, study
yep.
hard, make my A's, get there, and then look at the
Yep.
end result of what I've always planned for,
Yeah,
so
and
that you don't divert. I remember my father getting me a job at Vodafone,
wow.
with my brother, but I told him no. This is I want to stay on the sport field. And at the time, if I remember very well, my brother was taking around 1,008 in 2009, and I
Wow.
had just gotten a job at the
I was
University
taking
of Ghana.
750.
I've
I was
just
taking
got
750, and
Yeah,
I was the highest paid in my department.
I was taking 250 Ghana cities.
What?
With
Yeah,
first degree holder at the sports
you
directory.
saw me in 2009, right? I came with the boys
You
to
get
the
that?
to the poolside. I was living my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was crazy. I remember my mom saying, "Why don't you take?" I said, "No, I feel happy in this field. This is exactly what I've dreamt of, and this is exactly what I want to do." Like I remember telling her, "Take it easy. We will get there soon." So it's always important to stay connected to your dream and not stay there. I always say, when you reach your dream, it's no more a dream. It's a
Yep,
reality. Get a
yep,
different dream now.
yep.
And that's how it works. So
Cycle. And I think most of the people that when I was when I was like the Mauli Cosinas, the Vanels, I've forgotten other people's names, I believe that they would also resonate with your story, the fact that they were focused, and all of those kind of us, like the Michael Kwachis and the rest, they were focused in some way or the other, in a much more reflective and
yeah,
retrospective manner. They would actually see how focused they were. And I believe that this should also lead to a kind of a project, especially for our year group, to try and see if we can counsel and coach students that are in Accra Academy now to push them into focus. Because I was not in focus. I didn't know what I wanted.
yeah,
I always saw my mom as a role model. Then that's why I did business. And apart from the fact that I did not like the sight of blood, I got crazy. But then I thought business, my mom was working at a central bank. So I thought I'll do macroeconomics when I grow up. So I want to be like my mother, but I did not know what I wanted in school. And it could tell people who had the eyes that I did have could step aside out of their own bodies and see the entire school as a concept, would see people like you who checked all the success boxes. You had your own personal struggles, but on a broader scope, we could see the personal successes that you checked. And it tells because you had a focus. The question is, how many people in Accra Academy now are focused in what they really wanted? I remember there was this Accra Academy, there's this guy who publicizes this Accra Academy thing around, and he wanted me to create an application for him. And I'm actually asking my students to create that now. And that application that I wanted them to create, that I'm creating, that I think I'm giving myself up to next year, end of next year, to finish with the application, is to channel people's thoughts into a kind of career and then lead that career. Yours was into sports, period. There was no course on campus that was related to sports. Nothing. So how were you able to consistently navigate and stay focused on that? What were the academic situations that, because you were not a dumb student, we had students that came in solely based on academics, and then you could tell that based on sports, and you could tell that the academics was dwindling. They were sacrificing sports more into the academic, like that Samuel Johnson and the rest, right? But then there was nothing sporty about any of the courses that we were doing, but what kept you focused in through that? And that's the kind of application that I was thinking, and having that kind of in-depth idea and analysis from you would be very, very, very.
That's true. I wrote there was this piece that I wrote about the first sports book that I read. It's about managing the business of sport. And I got it because EPP Bookshop had opened closer to where I stay at Labadi or La. So, and having played football for a long time, I visited this bookshop, and then the first place I went was the sports section. I saw this. Here are managing business of sports, and the cover page was people in ties and suits.
You don't see sportsmen in tracksuits.
Yeah, and I was very captivated by that. So enrolling into Accra Academy, I took management because the book says managing the business of sports. So I know that management theories would be relevant if I want to be in this field. And I've always wanted to teach that aspect of sports. So coming to Accra Academy, I had that in mind. And then when I finished Accra Academy, there are sports schools. There are no sports schools, but they call it physical education universities and whatever. University of Education, Winnipeg, and whatever. But I wasn't too much enthused about it because the cutoff point was too low. So I'm like, why would I go in the cutoff point 24, 26? No, I'm not going to do that. Well, let me just go to Legon. And in Legon, I took sociology, psychology, because I know there is sports psychology, and I know sociology of sports from the same bookshop that I visited. So I knew that social theories, psychological theories, and philosophy will be very important moving forward. And today, look at me. My research is I've been using a lot of social theories, management theories about implementation and what have you. So I think it's been a very great journey in a sense that I was reading along the lines of what to do to reach my goal.
You were independent and you were special, and I'm sorry.
Very independent, I've always had things in my mind.
It was kind of, and that was my struggle growing up. And I know most people, and if you go back on campus and people who are listening would have those struggles trying to keep up with people like you. And it's not because people like you were better than us, but people like you were much more structured, maybe in your innate primate way than most of us. But the question is, how do we bridge the gap? Right. I was lucky to get into, if I had stayed in Ghana now, as I stayed in Ghana, I wouldn't even had the audacity to talk as I'm talking now. I'm lucky to be in a country where my audacity is much more acknowledged, right? But how do we bridge the gap between people like you in high school, and as I started with the conversation, 13 to 15 years, that is our formative years. We are now grasping everything. But how do we bridge the gap between people like you who are much more matured ahead of your time Because the things that you talked about are things that started thinking about getting to the end of my bachelor's degree, right? So how do we help people in the Accra Academy now bridge that gap? Because there are people like that in that situation. I counsel and I coach people like that over here. And I always see people like who think like I thought when I was in high school as people who were spoiled, right? Because they should have had all the opportunities. But in Accra Academy, how do we bridge that gap? Say we want to move people from Francis's mental situation to a Chawe mental situation, strong, determined, focused, right? Where he comes into a school that does not teach sports, but has been consistent in checking all the boxes that will lead him to be a sports person or personality as you are.
Yeah,
That's what.
it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy. But programs like this, and sometimes going back and talking with people, and sometimes people think about going back, talk with Accra Academy or talk with high school students per se, is a one-way thing. As I narrated, you realize that it's a process.
Mhm.
It's a process you go through. And now when I go to the university and I got a chance to manage international program, like, oh, it's a global world.
Yep.
Now I need to open and broaden my knowledge about how the global world works, understand development and its fundamentals, not from what I've learned from Ghana, but having that perspective. And that's not to say that I am supporting globalization or whatsoever. But what I'm trying to say is we need to understand certain things. What is development? What is deregulation? What is regulations? How did the IT boomed? When you understand these pieces and put them together, then you realize that there are jobs everywhere you can fit. You can get a job in the US and you fit in. You can get a job in
Yep.
Europe and you fit in. You can get a job in some African countries and you fit in, and you fit in. But you see, these kids, I don't know what kind of education that it's going on in Ghana. But if you take 10 kids or high school kids or junior high school and you ask them, what do you want to be? It's difficult. And I know this for a fact because I taught in high school, in junior high school, for almost 2 years. And I was also a high school student in Accra Academy. And I know some of my friends had this struggle, even at the University of Ghana, where I had a chance to teach for some time before leaving. You ask students where they see themselves in 5 years, it is a very difficult question. So what you said is very, very true. Having mentorship, constant dialogue with students, going back and doing this over and over again.
I have a cousin who actually, very artistic person, went into basketry. Went to Ebenezer High School, came to Tech, and then to KNUST, and then did basketry or whatever. You can't compete with that guy at Odona and Kaneshi, who has been doing basketry with all his talent, because a professor told you that you have to twist and twine and intertwine things in one way or the other. But then you can actually learn the entrepreneurship and the managerial aspect and the business aspect of basketry, like you are learning the business and entrepreneurial and management aspect of sports. Those are the kind of things that we need. I hope there's an opportunity one day for any of us, maybe a year group, to take that as a kind of a project, to enter into a mentorship program, if not direct mentorship, like much more of an automated mentorship where we create some kind of channels for people to actually.
Something that runs over and over and over again to remind young people about planning your career and stuff like that.
I didn't even know my career. I finished with a development planning. I wanted to be a lawyer because I talked a lot. I wanted to fight everyone in this world, right? But then KNUST did not give me that, and then I got into policy planning. I've never practiced my bachelor's degree ever in my life. Ever in my life, because I had to go to school or my dad would disown me, right? That is how my life had always been.
But this is the trick. This is the trick. You've led a group of people. You've studied planning and some few stuff about planning. If you never used it in a way, you could still get some elements of planning some fundamentals that would be important. So sometimes I always tell people, some people start planning very early, others later in the years.
Yeah.
And whilst others, when they get to the mid part of their whatever life
Yeah.
cycle, they get it. So it's different. It depends on where you are coming from. It depends on the people around you. It also depends on,
Mentorship.
struggling with, should I take this or not? All is part of the planning process. So,
And
I don't think it's a bad idea just to think that you are struggling to know what you really want to do. It's all part of it.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's I think where the mentorship comes. We shouldn't
Yeah.
because uh, mine, and again, I was a little bit lucky, the fact that I was able to get into a course that actually dealt with data. I was data curious. My family will tell you that I used to have those singing notebooks. I don't know whether you remember those books, those small books. I had singing notebooks, and
Yeah.
every story that I read, right, every story that I read, I'll write an alternate version. When I was growing up, that was when I was like 10 to 13, 15. I'll write an alternate version of what that storybook looks like. So if it tells me that a guy comes in with a leather jacket and it's a brown leather jacket, I'll write an alternative version to say the guy should have come in with a black leather jacket instead of a green leather jacket. And that was what I was, because I was paying attention to details, right? And that's what helped me working with at the planning department. I worked with so many data, government policy, government planning policy, data, statistics data, and everything. I was seeing the stories in between that. And
Yeah.
once I got out here, it helped. But I had to do it on my own. Where I am now, we are where we are now. You have grown into the job that you've been doing. You've been doing sports for about 20
Since
years
ages, a
now.
bit all my life, I guess.
All your life now, but I'm now growing in that kind of analytics and insights and reporting and
Yeah.
intelligence, right? How do we make sure that it doesn't take Francis 10 years when he could have done that
Exactly.
10 years before, like Chowie? And that's where I want us to think through, because it
Yeah.
would help a lot. It would help a lot.
And that's fantastic discussion. I just don't want to take Francis's time.
Mhm.
And I think it's great to share memories together.
I love it.
And it's just crazy just to think that we were in the same classroom for 3 years
For 3 years,
in
beautiful
Accra Academy
years.
Senior Secondary School. Now it's senior high school
Yep.
in Ghana. And I am very, very happy once again discussing this. Hopefully, we get more people on board, so we have and we have great discussion, and
Yep.
there is power in numbers, and to share ideas also, and also encourage young people, especially in Ghana, some parts of Africa, and the world at large. So, Francis, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and we will
I
find more
appreciate this
time,
too.
yeah, to talk
Yep.
more. Hopefully, I get a chance to come to Miami. Is it no Dakota, right?
North Dakota, but then North Dakota is my hometown. So just think
Okay.
about me working in the village and then going to Miami. So anytime you want to come to the US, just think about Miami. And oh my God. So you said you're in Norway, right? Maybe
Yeah, in Norway,
I'll
in
try and come
Oslo.
to Norway. Next
Yeah,
year I'll be doing more. Now my jobs are remote. Most of my
yeah,
jobs are remote, apart from the teaching that I do, that I may actually go into pure research next year. Once
yeah.
I get the scholarship. And then everything will be remote. So I'll be traveling a lot next year.
Man,
Next year.
anytime. I think I have space for you.
Awesome.
Anytime you come to Norway, just let me know. We pick you up at the airport and then we go to my place.
All right,
And
sure.
then
I appreciate it.
I have a chat and then talk more.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, bro. Charlie,
All right, take care, bro. All
we
right, see
talk.
you.
All
All
right.
right, take care.